Dig, climb, pull, brake. Welcome to this 25-inch tire shootout from Chaparral Motorsports. This is going to be a three-part series. Part 1, we're going to tell you about the tests. Part 2, we're going to tell you about the top 8 performing tires. And in Part 3, we're going to give you a detailed breakdown of what tires are best for certain riding styles. With all of those choices available, there's basically two purchasers. There's a purchaser who wants a general overall tire, the best tire for all types of situations. We're going to find the perfect tire for you. The other type of rider is the guy who does a specific task, somebody who always rides in the mud. We're going to find out which of these 21 tires is the best mud tire. We've got ranchers who are out there running fence lines, and their main concern is making sure that tire stops as quickly as possible if something runs into their path. We're going to have the best tires for that application as well. Thinking really hard about how we could recreate, if you will, certain real-world situations that the average ATV rider might experience on a daily basis. We came up with 5 tests. We wanted to find out how well the vehicle would tow and haul with the various tires that we've selected. We wanted to find out how well it climbs steep hills. How well does it stop while descending? How fast can it come to a complete stop when at full speed? And how well can it traverse through deep, sticky, nasty mud? We mounted these 21 sets of tires to aluminum wheels so that the playing field was fair. We then set all of the tires to the same air pressure so everyone would have the same advantage or disadvantage, depending on how you look at it. So how do you simulate a tractor pull type scenario with a quad? Well, we basically had to make our own weight sled. We started out with a water tank that we used to use to test out personal watercraft. We then welded an axle to it, we affixed a winch, and then we created a slide that would allow us to take weight and transfer it from the rear axle all the way up to the front of the vehicle. What that did was it made the skid plate on the front of that vehicle get heavier and heavier as that weight transferred forward. The resting weight of that front skid was about 380 pounds. As soon as that switch was flipped and that weight started moving forward, that front skid got heavier and heavier. At 4 seconds of runtime, that skid was about 500 pounds. At 9 seconds of runtime, that skid now weighs 900 pounds, and at 12 seconds of runtime, it maxed out our scale at over 1,000 pounds. Now keep in mind, it's not just the heaviness of that plate. The actual unit itself weighed over 3,500 pounds. Now this was a lot to ask of our Kodiak 700, but we put it to the test. The interesting thing was how the tires performed. The least performing tire traveled only 14 feet, and it was about an 8-second run. The best performing tire in this challenge traveled 95 feet, and it stayed in motion for just about 20 seconds. The discrepancy between 14 feet and 95 feet is huge, and what you're going to find out when we give you the full breakdown of that particular test is that those other 19 tires, they performed all over the board, but only 8 tires actually completed a full pull. The next situation we wanted to test was hill climbing. That's a big problem. When you get out there on your quad that has general stock tires and you try to climb a hill, a lot of times you're not making it. Those tires break loose, they slip, and put you into a very awkward situation. For this challenge, we wanted to find a really steep hill, one that would cause problems for some of these tires. In our case, we were able to find a hill that was about a 60-degree angle and had some very fine, loose, powdery, dusty sand on top of a hard-packed base. This was really interesting. Some of the tires were able to go up, and then they kind of dug down to where that hard pack was and just completely stopped. Other tires charged straight up the hill without even a hiccup. And then there were some that got near to the top, kind of dug in, and then shot across the side. There were 4 tires that did not make it to the summit. The fastest run was just over 13 seconds, and the longest run took almost 20 seconds, almost double the length of time it took for that best tire to reach the summit. Now once we got the vehicle up to the summit, we wanted to test downhill braking. Now there's 2 different braking tests that we wanted to test. We wanted to test while on an incline, how long does it take before the vehicle comes to a full and complete stop, if it can, on a severe downhill incline. The other brake test was top speed braking, but we'll get to that in a moment. For the downhill brake test, the rider started at the top, crested over and coasted down about halfway. As soon as he got to a specific marked spot, he locked up the binders and slid until he stopped. The tire that stopped the fastest stopped at 2.15 seconds, and the longest tire was 3.35. That's about a 75% increase in the amount of time it took for the least performing tire to stop. Now let's talk distance for a second. We're looking at 10 feet versus about 30 feet. Huge difference. And if you're looking at potentially rolling off the edge of a cliff, that could be a difference between life or death. Now rolling on over to the top speed braking. Do you think that the tires that perform the best at downhill braking would also be the best performers at top speed braking? I kind of thought so, but we really found out that that really isn't the case. The tire for top speed braking needs a little bit different of a characteristic than that excels at downhill braking. For the top speed challenge, we took this quad, had about 1/8 of a mile run, pinned fully wide open. As soon as he got to a specific point in the ground, he locked up the binders and slid to a stop as fast as he could. In this particular test, the fastest tire that stopped was 2.1 seconds. That was even faster than the downhill challenge. And then the longest sliding tire, 8.1 seconds. Can you believe that? 2 seconds versus 8 seconds. And the distance was absolutely incredible. That tire that traveled for 8.1 seconds, it slid 55 feet. You're talking an additional 15 feet. If you were cruising top speed on your vehicle and say a deer ran out in front of you, you locked up your binders, that 15-foot difference or 7-second discrepancy in time could be the difference between you stopping safely or coming into harm's way. The interesting thing about the tires that performed extremely well for this particular test is that they required very different characteristics than the tires that performed well in the previous tests. Find a mud pit in the Southern California high desert, they said. That was a tough challenge. But after about a week of prep, we were able to create a perfect mud pit for this challenge. We took a dozer and plowed up the dirt, soaked it for over a week, and put in hours and hours of manual labor in order to create the perfect pit. In the beginning, it was just a little bit muddy, but by the end, we had over 2 feet of sloppy, sticky, nasty mud that we could put your tires to the test through. When we originally started testing, we had the quad in 4-wheel drive, as we had had it in for all of the other tests, but these tires were sailing right through. So we decided to put the quad in 2-wheel drive and test it, as there's lots of different sport quads out there that only have 2-wheel drive. So let's make this test valid for everyone that's out there. In 2-wheel drive, there was one tire that still just couldn't quite make it through the mud, but everyone else was able to get through, some at a really quick time of 11.6 seconds, which was our winner, and others that took nearly 20 seconds to get through that muck. Now the key thing was they were able to keep forward momentum just a little bit, and they were able to get through. But the difference between getting through in 11 seconds versus double that is a pretty big difference. And there you have it. Those are the 5 tests that we put these 21 sets of tires through. Please stay tuned to our next video. We're going to show you the top 8 performing tires, the tires that did best overall for all 5 of these challenges. And then the video following that is going to give you super in-depth specifics on which tires performed best in each of these tests or situations. If you've liked the content of this video and you want to see more, please hit the like button down below. If you want the rest of this series to go directly into your email inbox, please hit the subscribe button. It's free. I'm Kyle Bradshaw from Chaparral Motorsports. Till next time, take care and ride safe.